All right, everyone, it is interview time, and we are here. If you're watching us on YouTube, we have three screens. Usually, April and I are right next to each other, but she is in another state. So, we are using the magic of technology to talk to Pamela Madsen, April Lampert, and Amy Baldwin all in one sitting over Zoom. If you're not watching us on YouTube, go check it out because then you can actually see our beautiful faces. And I don't know, maybe we have some fun like hand gestures or like little sock puppets. Who knows what's going to happen? Okay, so Pamela, so happy to have you on the show. We've been aware of your work for close to a decade, maybe longer. I believe you taught at Pure Pleasure a while ago when we had the brick and mortar store. And we know a number of people that are huge fans of you, including really incredible sex educators. So that says a lot. People that we really trust, like Kenneth Play, Dolly Josette. And our listeners just heard a little bit about you in the bio, but, and I know we could probably talk about this for a long time, but can you please tell our listeners a little bit more about how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality?
We'll go really Reader's Digest. So in my book, Shameless, I know we got like a shameless thing going on. In my book, Shameless, I talk about, what do we just say, turning 40 and being married for, a bunch of decades. Because I was one of those girls who got married to our high school sweetheart and have been with my husband since I'm 17. So, everything felt like really good. I mean, we did licky, fucky, sucky. I came, he came. It was all good. What more was there to know about sex? We did all the things. I, bent over. I jumped on him. He jumped on me. It was all good. And around 40, after kids and after infertility, my girlfriends started to have, oh my God, affairs. So you have to realize that my generation, which is in the 50s, some may be in the 60s, we didn't have consensual non-monogamy. We didn't have these words. We didn't have poly. We had cheating. It was just it was just cheating. That's all it was, and it was all my girlfriends, and they looked fabulous. And they were having the greatest time of their lives. And I was monogamous and happy enough and kind of bored and kind of had this feeling that there was more around eroticism and sexuality than had to do with my marriage bed. And then I met a gay man. And I love to say that everything I learned about sex, I learned from gay men, which is kind of a little bit true because they're the great permissioners around sex, or at least they were in my time. And I had a massage therapist, and he started to tell me about erotic massages. And I had my Samantha in the City moment. I almost knocked him unconscious. It was like, massage, touch, one way, not cheating. I could do that. I was like that girl in the chorus line. I could do that. Boo, boo, boo. Only I couldn't do that because we're talking let's see, my book was in 2011. We're talking the 90s, and it was drier than a desert out there for women. I mean, if you were a guy, you could get Genghis Khan's twin daughters to come blow you in a penthouse in Dubai. Okay? You had the money, write the check, you could get it. If you were a woman, it didn't exist. So I may be telling too long a story. I'll pick it up.
No, it's a good story. It's amazing. Yes.
So what I did, like any, innovative woman, is I tracked it down. And I ended up going to, then it was called, I think it's gone now, M for M Massage, because you couldn't find it for women. So now you can turn on Facebook and wherever, and you'll see tantric this and erotic massage this and, all the stuff. But no, it wasn't there for women. So I went to the source. I went to gay men, and I wrote to gay men, and I said, look, I don't want you to fuck me. You don't have to fuck me, but do you think you could touch a pussy? Could you do an erotic massage, and instead of a dick, do a pussy? And I got all kinds of responses. And finally I got a couple of yeses, and I went on this journey. And with the sacred sexuality underground, mainstream Pamela Madsen, fertility goddess, executive director, the American Fertility Association, seen on Oprah, the Today Show, is now scurrying around Lower Manhattan trying to find a happy ending massage. And some weren't so happy. And some were. And that led me on this journey of exploration. And then I found sexological body work, and I went and got training. And I had this huge blog back in the day when blogs were blogs. And everything sort of exploded in my life. Like I got outed because I liked spanking. And I wrote about that on my blog. And this is like so naughty. This is right before 50 Shades of Grey came out and everybody was spanking everybody. So I was a little bit ahead of my time. And so, yeah, that, all those experiences led me to leaving the American Fertility Association and then deciding that, okay, maybe it's time for me to launch something new for women. Take all the experiences I had as a client and then my certification and my training and turn it into a safer place for women to actually get access to what I wanted but couldn't find. And that's what got me here. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I was a kindergarten teacher. Doesn't that frighten everybody?
Just throwing that in.
I bet you were the best one. I bet you were so good.
I was so great. Anyway, so that was sort of my journey. And so we founded Back to the Body about 10 years ago. And we've been sold out for 10 years. And now there are studies about the work. And that's how I know about long tail arousal.
Wait, so are you bored with your husband anymore? Or did that change everything?
Oh, it changed everything and nothing.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest. I mean, I've been with my husband for 40 years. I am non-monogamous. I stopped being monogamous maybe around 10 years ago. I love the word. I thought I invented it and then I found out somebody else did. Don't you hate when that happens? I thought I had invented monogamish, but then I found out Dan Savage did. It really I was depressed for about a week. But so I'm monogamish, and which means that my primary partner is my husband. And I usually have I'm usually a secondary partner of somebody else who has a primary partner. And I'm usually in a DS relationship. Mm-hmm. So, and that's amenable to my husband because DS is not something he does. And I have high core erotic novelty needs. And so that allows me to be able to play safe enough. And so, marriage changes. And what's hot when you're 17 isn't always hot when you're 40 or 50. And not everybody wants to go on the journey, but they want to stay married. Mm-hmm. So my husband doesn't want to go on the journey.
Oh, really?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but he set up my intranet so I could do this with you.
Oh, thank you, husband.
Thank you.
He's super supportive.
And he hates Apple products. Sorry to out him there.
And he hates Apple products. But besides that, he's a really great man. And he doesn't stop me from living my life. Like, I'm not caged. I can be married and have a family, and he doesn't have to own my pussy.
Unless you want him to, because you like DS stuff. So
yeah, but usually not with him.
It just depends on your mood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love this story. Thank you for answering my question about the boredom piece, because that is common in long-term relationships, the boredom piece. So I love that we're talking about a subject that can involve long-term relationships to short-term relationships, because this is about long arousal arcs, which I'm curious about, and then erotic energy as well. But I'm really curious, what is long arousal, first of all? Does it differ from orgasm?
Yes. So here's the deal. Most of us could grab, I'm just going to do like broad sweeps, okay? So I don't know about you, but if I'm like feeling stressed or I want to go to sleep or whatever, and I just want to, I'll be a little crass, okay? I just want to rub one off. Okay, so I can grab I'm a magic wand girl, everybody has their thing. And so get my magic wand, figure out that I have 5 minutes of peace in my bedroom before somebody stops watching television in the other room. And 5 minutes, I can come, and I can come a whole bunch of times. Arousal has very little to do with that scenario. That's really about getting off, about coming. about climax. Okay. Now, that is the experience, though, of so many people around sex. It's the orgasmic Olympics. It's how quickly can we get to, if let's say if we're talking about heteronormative relationships, just let's be boring for a minute. Straight woman, straight man, they're going to go at it and have themselves a good old time. He gets hard right away. He's looking for her to get wet. She's moaning and groaning. He goes inside. He touches. Oh, she's wet. She's ready. Yay. Now I'm going to fuck her. Terrific. And it's over in about 5 to 10 minutes. If she's really lucky, maybe she has a climax. Maybe she even feels something. And it's done. Boo-hoo. Okay, really boo-hoo. And that is the patriarchal model of sex. And, it's based on male arousal, which is pretty immediate and really just wants to go. So what happens and what we've learned at Back to the Body is, let's put a woman on a table. We work on a massage table for 90 minutes, one-way touch. She's just receiving pleasure for 90 minutes. And maybe for an hour, we're just going to drive by her vulva. We're just going to tease. We're using her whole body to the point where she is moaning and groaning and is moving in and out of erotic trance states. And then by the time we really get to her vulva, and I'm not just like talking about teasing at her lips and little drive-bys and inner thigh work and all of that. But then we start to go, deeper into the velvet curtains and really, invite her clitoris and her vagina directly into the party. What happens then is an orgasmic state that is extraordinary because her vulva now is so full of blood. Her breath, she's moving, she's dancing with arousal. That is long-term arousal. And you know what? If I had to choose between the sneeze, which is what I call the climax or the orgasm, or that, give me that.
Mm-hmm.
Give me that. And when I do live demos for our women, and they often think that I've had climaxes, but I haven't. I'm just so deeply in my pleasure and so deeply in the ups and downs of arousal loops that it looks and sounds like orgasm.
Mm.
And I actually think maybe we should change the language because it is orgasm. It's not climax.
Mm-hmm.
So long tail arousal arcs is orgasmic energy. And so when women tell me that they don't have orgasm, what they're often saying to me is they don't climax. They don't climax. But you put one of those ladies on a table and you give her Epicurean touch. You get her to put down her hypervigilance so she's safe enough. She knows she's not giving back. She's just receiving. Then women really get in touch with what is possible for them in their bodies. And then they can take that out wherever they want.
There's something to be said about the one-way touch and the not having this goal of it having to get from point A to point B and point B being the climax piece. And I'm really curious about long arousal, or what was the other term you used for it? It says long tail arousal. Long tail arousal. Is this something that's available to people of all genders and bits? Is it easier to access for certain people? I know you're talking more so for vulva owners or women identified folks, but is long arousal something that everyone can experience?
Absolutely. And we teach that. We usually do one male demo at a retreat. Basically, look, what's the key? The key is not to be genital driven. Okay? That's the key. So if you're working on a man's body or a woman's body, there are armpits, right? Armpits can be really hot, long strokes from the top of your head down to your toes. Inner thighs are so hot. Sometimes we do kiss, bite. Well, not at my retreats, but if you are with a couple, which you were talking about. I mean, learning to do little things like, let's say it is a vulva, little bites on the inside of the thigh, and then a lovely little kiss, right? And keeping that going for a while. The same thing with men. Like, how much can you first, when I teach doing it for men, I like to start with a massage. Men, just like women, need to relax in their bodies. They need to let their day go. So I start with the head and I work my way down to the toes. Then I work my way back up until he's starting to moan, and you start to bring in your nails and you start to bring in your mouth, and you just mix it up. And yeah, you bring in the cock, but you don't stay there forever. And you bring it to the place where he's moaning. I mean, the technical word for some of this is edging, but it's like edging the whole body and really being patient for your partner's pleasure. Like having erotic endurance. That's another term we use. Like, can you have erotic endurance? Whether you as a giver, are you going to rush your partner to orgasm, to climax? Or can you have erotic endurance and like put them on a breathless marathon, right? Can you like really stand there for your partner's pleasure? And that goes for either sex, but women traditionally have gotten oh my God, what a terrible metaphor I'm about to use, the short end of the stick.
Oh.
And so massage tables are a great tool. And, regular people can own massage tables. Amazon will deliver it for $150. I was just with an extraordinary new lover, and he's well known in the sex field, and I'm not going to out him here. And for our time together, I told him to order a table. He was like, a table? He's a rigger, a rope guy. I was like, yeah. Order a massage table. Bring it to my hotel. So he did. And I put him on the table and gave him a session. And he said, oh my God. So I've never been so relaxed and so aroused at the same time. And I came so hard, I think I threw out my shoulder. And so
that's a good orgasm.
That's right. Amazing.
So this is an experienced sex professional, right? Hasn't had this experience. And, yeah, he does porn, and yeah, he does this, and yeah. But that's performance sex. Like there's like being sex, like really having sex, and there's performing sex. What I'm talking about is being sex. And that takes time. And it isn't always simultaneous. It's sometimes taking turns in giving and receiving. But yeah, I mean, this is like, arousal has just really entered our lexicon. 5 years ago, you weren't even hearing about arousal. I was going to write a book 10 years ago called The Arousal Principle. And my editor said to me, but who would buy that? And who uses the word arousal? Well, how quickly things have changed.
Yeah, they have.
Right?
Yeah.
Because of podcasts like yours and what's going on in social media, the world has opened up. And I'm just going to say for men and especially for women. Because men have always had some kind of access and women haven't.
Well, okay. So Pamela, I love all of this insight, and you're kind of an OG in my opinion, like just the originator of so much of this talk about pleasure. Really, it's people's pleasure. So you mentioned people of all genders with all bits can experience this long tail arousal, right?
Sure.
Long tail arousal.
Long tail arousal. Uh-huh.
I like it. So why don't people experience this long tail arousal?
Well, I think as we started in the beginning of our conversation, we followed a patriarchal model of get hot, get wet, get in. Most women are recipients of premature penetration, and then the guy comes and then it's sort of over, right? Because that's what men have been taught. And then women who have generally been in a passive erotic role often don't know more than what their lovers are giving them. or at least that's how it was, but it's really still. I mean, I work with women in their 30s. I mean, I get the occasional 23, 24-year-old bops in the door, and then all the women are like, oh my God, she has a whole life of this ahead of us. You know, they're jealous because she's getting all this information. But women from, you know, more average into their 30s, all the way up to their 90s. And their life experience is just not what we're talking about with sex. It's just not what's being offered to them. And it's usually very goal-oriented sex where their lover is just trying to get them, quote unquote, off. And they don't understand about the pleasure of arousal, also the healing in arousal, and what happens in our body, and the movement, the breath, the release that can happen, the readiness for climax, you know, where you're like begging, like, oh my God, please, just now, please. And then still waiting a little bit longer. So I think I kind of went off a little bit from your question, but historically, there's not been any teaching around this. And, you know, we masturbate. It's, that's always been the silent and quick rule. Everyone know about that?
Silent and quick rule?
To get it over with, one and done, get it over with.
One and done, yeah. Got to be quiet, got to be quick. Mm-hmm. Fuck, I still do that. My husband's in the other room and I just want to, like, you know, I don't want to deal. I don't want to make love. I just want to come. I'm not interested in arousal in that moment. I just want to come. It's one and done, quiet and quick. As children, that's what we're taught. And we bring that culture with us. I think it's changing because people are getting information now. And I think partners are learning about arousal and wanting to offer a longer meal. And if we want to call that edging, let's call it edging. But it's grander, really, than edging. Because edging really talks, I think, more about genital play. Like my fingers, can you tell that I'm a sex ed professional?
Yeah, we can see those fingers.
Going, I'm sorry.
So I told you there would be sock puppets going on, but it's hot fingers with red nail polish.
It's Pamela's like, yeah. So if we could get folks to climb on tables, you know, like think of a massage table as the best sex toy you've ever had.
And one of the biggest, probably.
And one of the biggest, but it folds up.
Yeah.
And it allows your partner to have access to all of you, because they can walk around. They can climb on top, right? They can tie you to a massage table if they want to. It has tremendous access. You know, I want to sit on a table, or one of my practitioners wants to sit at a table, and let's say the woman is lying down on the table, can pull their bodies forward and wrap their legs over their legs. And then they have like a front row seat to that vulva or cock if it's a man, right? And then you have all of that landscape. You have you have access to the legs, inner thigh, belly, breast, by sitting on a massage table and having your partner lay down and have their legs like kind of looped over you. And so it's great for fucking, you know. So if you want to really experience being a pleasure warrior, get a table. It's a great way of
Yeah. I was thinking when you're talking about table, I was like, why do we have couches? I could just put a massage table here with some pillows there, and that could be like where I watch my movies and my shows. And then when I want to have sex, I have this nice, firm, easy access table to go and have all kinds of good times.
The one that is automated that can go up and down, though, right? Is that what you're talking about? I hope so, Amy. Otherwise, I'm not going to watch a movie at your house.
I'm not. No, I'm just saying it could just be. I mean, my couch behind me, it could be raised. I mean, it doesn't have to have like hydraulics or anything like that. Some like electronic system. But I mean, some people want to be on a lower level. And April and I both experienced sexological body work with Dolly. Actually, she was here actually in my living room here, I believe.
Cool.
And it was awesome. We had our separate sessions there on the massage table, and I've had a couple other sessions with people, my partners partners also offered to use a massage table to just to pleasure me and to explore my body. And I do understand what you're talking about, that it creates this great positioning, easy access. It also really invites the person that is on the table to receive the session, because it's really, people are not usually having, mutual sex on massage tables. Sometimes they are. But, when we do try to do that in the bed, if I and my partner will do this for me sometimes, do some like pussy massage or things in the bed, I can surrender into it. But there's something about being on the table that really invites more of that.
It's your ritual space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It can really create a ritual space. So if you set up the table for your partner and they come home and the table is open, maybe there's a few petals, right, leading to the table, and things are set up. That's a welcome mat for pleasure, right? Oh, you did that for me. There's something beautiful about that. There's a seduction in, I want to just give to you and have you receive. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't switch, okay? So like most of my lovers have been in the field, and we may start out like doing one-way touch, and in lovership things shift, right? Which is different than what would happen at, let's say, a paid-for sexological bodywork session, or at my retreat. Like that doesn't ever shift, But with a lover, things can shift, and from being one thing to then being another. We just need folks to slow down.
Absolutely. Slowing down is something we talk about all the time on this show, Pamela, and we should trademark the go slower than slow and then slower than that. But Amy has a t-shirt, so she wears it all over Santa Cruz, and it's perfect because
it's trademarked. Everyone, you can't take it. Sorry.
Trademarked. It is. So I have a question, because you touched a little bit on the arousal arcs in I think a couple of questions ago, and I'm curious about, I can envision an arc of arousal, and when you're building and building and building, and then the peak. But what are arousal arcs in the world of Pamela Madsen? Because I know you have some great things that I want to trademark. No, I won't though. I won't steal any of them.
It's all right. So we talk about upregulation and downregulation. Okay, so that's a way of thinking. It's other language. All right. So maybe a session starts with, I'm touching hands, right? And moving slowly in that way. Or maybe it starts with a game. So that would be a downregulated way to start, where we're just moving and breathing together, right? That'd be downregulation. But maybe I'm going to start the session with being playful and having myself be chased around the table. Like, oh, you're going to get me, and have, some big guy pick me up and throw me on the table, because that's fun for me. It may not be fun for you or you or you or you. Maybe it's about me. It's my session, right? I get to kind of lead it, right? And so I could be starting from this very upregulated place, this very playful place. And the music could be pounding, and I could be on the table and moving. Because we teach women not to like, it's not a gynecological visit. Okay. This is, we teach active receiving, and they get to see all this ahead of time. So maybe I'm moving, and it's very breathy, and there's sound and movement and hands and oil. And then I take a breath to get to this particular place of arousal, and my body wants to come down. And then maybe I want to lie flat for a moment or two, right? And I want the hands to be softer on my body. And that's a downregulated place. But then I'm ready to go back up again. And so it's playing with the roller coaster. You can't, if you start up at 100, you've got nowhere to go.
Is this like diddling the clit, like
right? So you need to be able to like start like at a 1, and then maybe upregulate, and then maybe come back down, and then upregulate some more. And those arcs, that's those pleasure arcs that you're talking about, is really energy going up and down, and you're in control of that. You as the person on the table are in control of that. A good practitioner an Epicurean touch master. Oh, honey, you want one of those on your body? Yeah, maybe we should come and do a cradle for you guys.
Yeah.
I'll get my guys and we can do it there. Boom. We do cradles where there could be 2 practitioners working on you at the same time.
I want that.
Yes,
Wow.
everyone gets a cradle at a retreat, which is 2 practitioners at one session. So it's just learning to play with your breath, with movement, being able to use that table. You've seen people pole dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So imagine the massage table as your own personal pole. And you get on your knees, you can, lie over the table. It's not a passive place. And so the more you're able to move your body, make sound, breathe, know your desires, be able to ask for what you want, the more arousal you're going to be able to have and the more arcs that you will have.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking,
am I getting there for you?
You got me.
Yeah.
You got me
Yeah.
all up and down. You got me up and
Okay.
down. Okay.
Down.
I got you.
I'm envisioning, being on the table and like having this like witchy, wild session where
We're
the
like
tables,
convulsing like this. Like,
but
oh,
the tables, the table's almost like another lover too. Like I'm grinding on it, rolling all over it, and like drooling on it and scratching it. But then there's like all these other things going on, and I love the like wild, witchy, orgasmic or arousal state where it looks out of this world. You're like, are you losing your marbles? No, you are in pleasure town, and you don't. Is it like 15 minutes? Is it 90 minutes? What's going on? But you're following, and you're also talking about you. You didn't say the word the drop, but it's the arc where there's maybe like a more mellow point. So maybe I'm not looking super witchy and turned on, and I might be crying. I don't know. And I've experienced that with pleasure too, which brings me to sex study time. So you recently conducted a study on pleasure and arousal, didn't you? And I'm wondering if you can share more about this with our listeners. I'm sure you learned a lot all about this arousal arc and all of the things about pleasure in your study.
Well, let me do a very soft correction. Not my study, featured in the study.
Okay.
The lead researcher was Dr. Betsy Crane. There were 2 others. And because I had to change houses, I don't have everything in front of me. Those who are watching, I had a little Wi-Fi issue. So I had to go from one place to another. So I don't have everything in front of me. Forgive me. But Dr. Betsy Crane was at Widener University. And she wanted to look at the effects of sexological body work on women. And she came to one of my retreats as an IRB observer. And she was like, oh my God, we have to document this. And so she did a long-term study, which she presented at 2 professional conferences, and we're waiting for it to be published now. So she's done it as 2 presentations at ASAC and at Quad-S, and now we're waiting for publication. I can tell you what we learned. So what we learned about women who did immersion. So the key is immersion. I'm just going to say that right off. So the reason she was able to study back to the body as a model is that our retreats are consistent. So whether you're in Tuscany or Iceland or Maui or Hawaii at a retreat, you're going to get the same 5 sessions. Okay? What every woman is getting is pretty identical. Their experience is different, but the serving is the same. The rules are the same. The guidelines are the same. So it could be studied. It was a repeatable model. So they studied the model. They did pre-interviews, post-interviews, 3 months after interviews with the women, as well as had them do a questionnaire. And what we found out is looking at some of these pillars. So the women who participated in the retreats had better, get this word, genital self-esteem. So they felt better about their pussies after they attended a retreat. They had genital self-esteem. They were able to identify their desires, speak them, know what felt good for them in their bodies. They were able to learn about consent, yes, no. They were able to direct. They healed relationships with other women. And now we're not talking about erotic relationship, but sisterhood, what they labeled as sisterhood. Lots of women have lots of issues with other women around compare and contrast. What happens at Back to the Body is that if everyone's getting the same and you know you're getting 2 hours and she's getting 2 hours, you're not fighting over the guy. Everyone's getting the same amount of attention. Then we can turn into cheerleaders for each other when we take away competition. Women found their orgasm. Women found their arousal. Women were able to initiate sex when they got home. Women who weren't able to do this before. And they lost body shame, and many felt that they released trauma that they held in their body. That's a lot of stuff. And I'm probably leaving some out. And it was quantifiable from how they registered before the experience and then after the experience. And I really think that this is about immersion, that it's not a one-off. You don't just have a session and then leave. Because when you have a session, you have an expansion, right? But then you have a contraction. So if you're in an environment where you're not leaving for 7 days, you're having 5 sessions, you get to expand and contract within the retreat, within the program. So by the time you leave, you've expanded and contracted maybe 10 times. So you leave with a net gain. And that's exciting. And what we learned about women is that women need time. Women, we used to do 90 minutes on the table as a regular program. We now do 2-hour minimum because we need time. We need, what you said, Amy, to cry, to laugh, to experience pleasure. It takes time for women. We've got a different body than men. And men, once they discover this, they wanted to. And there are programs for men that are based off of Back to the Body. There's the Apollo Project. I'll give them a plug. There's the Apollo Project for straighter or bi-curious men, but it's female practitioners. And then there's the Body Box, which does this work for gay and queer men, all based on the same Back to the Body model. They're colleagues. So we all can have it, even if you don't have a vulva.
Okay. Well, that is kind of what I wanted to ask in this next question, because this study obviously encompassed a lot of this research found from the Back to the Body methodology, right? And I would love for you to and you gave us some good bits, but can you tell us more, about what they are, what this Back to the Body method and the erotic immersion retreats are, when they happen, what can people expect at these immersion retreats? And I think you mentioned that they're global and you can access them from anywhere, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Can you just tell us more? I need to know more about Back to the Body.
Sure. I'll tell you more. So we're based around sexological body work. So that's our core is. So if you want to learn about sexological body work, you can go to the internet and Google sexological body work, and you'll see the basis. The basis of sexological body work is practitioners remain clothed. They wear gloves when they're touching genitals. They don't have relationships with their clients outside of session work. They don't date their clients. They don't ask for touch. And in fact, it's not even they don't ask for touch. You're not allowed. Okay, so it's the practitioner's responsibility to hold the boundary, and it's not even like not encouraged. It's not allowed. So it's one-way touch. The Back to the Body method, and there's a great FAQ on my website about who we are and who we aren't. What the Back to the Body method does that's a little bit different is that sexological body work was created by Dr. Joseph Kramer during the HIV/AIDS epidemic, when he wanted to give gay men a way to have erotic touch without getting sick. And it was very, very much focused on the person on the table and no two-way intimacy. But when you're working with women are just different. So maybe we want a hug. Maybe we need eye contact, right? And so what the back to the body method does is we take sexological body work, we expand it a little bit, and we allow for intimacy between the practitioner and the client. Like maybe you need to practice having a gaze held. Maybe you need to be cuddled. Maybe after you've had 90 minutes on the table, you need to be held. And in strict sexological body work, that wouldn't be allowed. But we do that. And we can do that within boundaries. Like nothing more is happening than hugging or petting. They're not robots. Practitioners are not robots. Mm-hmm. And they're having a shared experience with a client. And we acknowledge the shared pleasure loop that's going on. And that practitioner is with that client in all the fields. And so that's a major difference between strict sexological body work and what we've now called the back to the body method. I feel like there was more to the question.
Your erotic immersion retreats. So I'm assuming
yes.
those are for, so those have trained practitioners. And if I'm a human that wants to experience this back to the body method, I can hopefully find these erotic immersion retreats where I can experience this.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then, so when are those?
Sure. And let me just do one more qualifier.
Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm. The study was not about back to the body. Mm-hmm. The study was about somatic body work. So she was not looking to look at the magic of back to the body, but we were a container that could be studied because we were so consistent. Okay. And because we were doing immersion. So they were able to study us because we weren't doing this and then doing this and then doing this, right? Because science needs that to be quantifiable. So her objective was to look at the results of somatic body work on clients. So I just wanted to qualify that. So we do about 9 retreats a year. And they're every couple of months. And they're anywhere from Colorado to Hawaii to France. We've been in Thailand, we've been in Iceland. They're all over the place. They're in the US and they're international. They vary in price. We're just going to be opening up a lower cost one, which by the time maybe this airs, it will be on our website, called The Opening, for women who just want to have a smaller taste before they eat the whole enchilada. Mm-hmm. But we fill up fast. A lot of our women do more than one retreat. It's not unusual. I'm like a salty potato chip. If you eat one.
You can't just have one. Yeah.
It's hard. There are some women who will just have one and walk away. But 98% of the women come back for more. Mm. And they'll do between 3 and 5 retreats over a year or 2 years, depending on their resources. And then we do private retreats. So if you want to work one-on-one, it would usually be that client. We work with a triadic model. So it would be a female practitioner and a male practitioner with the client. And those are available. And I think that's also important to know, is that we work in a triadic model. Mm. So at retreats, every woman has a female safe word. And she meets with the client before, literally walks them to their session and picks them up after. And then they go to the nest with all the other women who are in various stages of before, during, and after for cuddling and talking.
Well, I love this. Can we just make this a default for all people? And I don't know, I'm thinking rites of passage, but can this be one of the standardized tests that they give us in public school? That was bullshit, but this is way better. So, I could have totally used this and still at this, like you said, we can always use this and come back over and over again.
We have tons of sex educators who come through our program. Why? Because where are we going?
Yeah.
Who's going to hold the container for us? In fact, my team, we are giving ourselves a retreat next February because we realized that nobody was serving what we were serving for our clients and that we needed it for our own lives. We all need this work. It's healing. It's really healing work. And our eroticism is constantly changing. Like who I am erotically yesterday is not who I am today. And so we all need the space to play and experiment and have the space held for us. And when we learn how to go deeper and deeper into arousal, you start to access trance states. And I know we're probably coming to a close, but you start to be able to, people love, playing with mushrooms now and going on journeys. You can go on a journey in your arousal. You really can. And you can have downloads and you can have manifestations and it could all happen. Now we get a little witchy right at the end, through your arousal, but it really means dropping deep in for a period of time.
Just like you changed the amount of time on the table from 90 minutes to 2 hours, I feel like interviews with Pamela should be longer than 60 minutes. Those should be 2 hours because I could talk to you for hours and hours about this. You have so much knowledge. The way you deliver things, I just feel comfortable with receiving what you're offering. And it just makes so much sense, not only for vulva owners, I feel for penis owners as well. Which brings me to, unfortunately, you're right. We have to close because we try to keep these 60 minutes, but before we do, how can people find you, work with you? How can they access Back to the Body method and the immersion retreats? And also we heard that you have a pleasure quiz or pleasure quizzes. Is there one? Okay.
Yes,
I want to hear about this too.
So we have a brand new pleasure quiz. So what we did was we took all the knowledge that we've accumulated over 10 years of the different ways people land around pleasure. And we developed a questionnaire and they can go right to backtothebody.org. It pops right up and it says, take the pleasure quiz and answer the questions. And we will give you a response about where you are in your pleasure potential. Where are you in your pleasure potential? And then we'll send you follow-up emails with advice and support and information on, how to move forward to get more. And there's always more. There's more for me. I can't wait to get back on the table. I can't wait to continue this work. It's what lights me up, makes me a little rocket. And, if you're not accessing this. So yes, go to the website, go to backtothebody.org. You'll find everything you need. I'm on Instagram at the Pamela Madsen. And there is a at backtothebody.org. And I'm on Facebook where I'm verified for 3,000 years. And Pamela Madsen blue check. You don't want the poor, very well known. She's a conductor in San Francisco.
Who gets confused with you?
Yes, she used to send me email, but she no longer does it. So you want the Pamela Madsen with the blue check and probably kind of nakedish pictures on the thing. Because what I do is I show everyone what we do. And I give images and I'm not frightened of my body. And, I want to free women to be shameless.
Shameless theme.
Maybe
Shameless
we should end right there.
Oh yeah, it's great. Well, I was gonna say also the other Pamela Madsen seems to use a different wand than you. You're kind of like a different.
I was thinking that too. I was like, well, she's holding a stick of some sort, so it can be confusing. Yes,
it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
But I keep a lot of information free and available, and the newsletters are great. I write every day. I put it out there for people. Love being with you ladies. I've been fans for so long.
Oh, thank you.
And when I got the invitation to join you, I was very excited. I even put on red for you.
I know.
You look beautiful. Red lipstick.
Yeah, I jazzed up, got lipstick going. Because I stopped having a publicist. So it's lovely just to get invitations. So thank you.
We would
I'd be happy.
You could be expecting another one. You'll be expecting another one soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And we can bring the guys on too.
Ooh, let's do that.
Yeah.
I want to, can we have a virtual cradling?
We could do a lot of things virtually,
Ooh.
but it's also better in person.
Oh yeah. You're in LA, right? You're in Southern California?
I live in New York, but I'm in LA a lot. And
Okay.
some of my key practitioners are there.
Okay.
So, we can hook this up.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. Everyone, we will do a live demo from the virtual cradling. I mean, the live cradling. Well, Pamela, we absolutely love and adore you, and we will have you back. I love your charisma, your passion, your knowledge. You're, like April said, your relatability. You really are a pioneer, and you're changing the world. One long arousal something.
Long tail arousal.
Right.
After the other.
One happy pussy at a time.
Yeah, happy pussy at a time. Exactly. and there's a lot of happy pussies that have been in your presence. So thank you so much. And to our listeners, don't leave yet, because as you know, if you're a regular listener for the last month or so, we've been doing sizzlers, teasers, trailers of other podcasts in our wonderful network, the Pleasure Podcast Network. It's a whole bunch of sex positive podcasts with different focuses, and everyone is awesome. We love being a part of the Pleasure Podcast family. Before we give you this wonderful teaser trailer from Good Moms Bad Choices, and they have been on our podcast before. And did we go on theirs, April? I think we have theirs too. Oh, we have not.
We invited ourselves, but they didn't have us on yet.
We're trying to get on their show. No. Come on, Good Moms Bad Choices. Let's do this. So if you have not reviewed us yet, please go and review us on Spotify, on iTunes. Go and review us. We love 5 stars. It helps people find us, find people like Pamela Madsen, and you can help change the world one pussy at a time, or one cock at a time. So you can go and join the Shameless Sex Revolution and be a sexual pioneer just by rating us and helping get the message out there. And if you're not following us on TikTok, go follow us on TikTok, Instagram. We have all kinds of videos. Also YouTube, as we said earlier, you can see Pamela live-ish, but in the flesh, and her hot red outfit with beautiful red nails. And I think your microphone or your headphone is red too. So yeah, very appropriate. Okay, is that all I needed to say, April, before we go into the sizzler?
That's right. Stay tuned. This is going to be a good one.
All right, sizzler time. Here we go.